Now, with the WNBA steadily rising up in the past few years, and now with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese joining them, there is going to be a level of scrutiny with the brand new eyeballs. And the current day sports media loves to cover men's sports from a toxic perspective, especially the NBA, pinning players against each other like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown when they had first joined the Celtics. Same thing for Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, etc., etc. And a lot of inner nuances are at play here. The social media algorithms feeding off of negativity and trolling and people going back and forth, and the constant reality that the WNBA is a league that is still growing. They only have 40 games a year, 12 teams currently at the moment. The season is only 4.5 months. And the NBA right now is currently negotiating a deal to get into streaming, which relies on customers subscribing for 12 months out of the year. And to only have content for about 4.5 months, you see where the WNBA has plenty of room to grow to fill in that space. But again, they are a growing league. And for those of you watching the visual version, as you can see here, even with the addition of Caitlin Clark on the Indiana Fever, they are still worth more than the Los Angeles Sparks, Atlanta Dream, Dallas Wings, and hell, even the Connecticut Sun, being a team in the tri-state area of New York City. And the most expensive teams are only sitting at $140 million, the Vegas Aces, the Seattle Storm at $135, and the New York Liberty at $130 million. So there's still plenty of room for the league to grow. And each team only has a salary cap of about $1.4 million. So when we see the WNBA commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, make statements that the WNBA shouldn't be negotiating their own TV deal outside of the NBA, things tend to get a bit tricky, because that is with the understanding that currently in this season, even with the Caitlin Clark boost, they are still on pace to lose about $50 million. So the WNBA is in this tricky position with social media and just this image they're portraying in the media that the league is strong. And of course, the women are strong, but you're still going to have to deal with the financials of the reality. And sometimes the WNBA does fall into the rabbit hole of being sort of a movement-led league. You don't want to do that to your consumer base, because the casuals are really there just for the entertainment value. They don't want to be told which movements they should join and what to support. That's a huge issue for the league, because in social media, it is trendy right now for the girls to say the league is just as strong as the guys and they should make the same amount of money, when in reality, just the budget alone to fly all the girls this season private is $25 million, which is double the budget combined for every WNBA team's salary. So the sports media coverage with the WNBA kind of gets a bit shaky. It's like they're treading the lines with trying to provide an entertaining value to debate what's going on in the WNBA, along with trying not to step on the toes of the players who've been there before. But this exact scenario played out with Monica McNutt and Stephen A. Smith. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
Talking about them maximizing their great potential. And because we bring that up and talk about what potentially might get in their way, which we do to men all the time, now we got to sit up here and watch every syllable. I resent that, and I'll leave it at that.
All right, so let me, I know we got to go to break. Welcome to the world of being a woman, Stephen A., and how you have to dance about your word choice and you have to please everybody and anybody as you navigate your being. We are talking about the world's greatest
How about being a black man?
Okay,
being black.
hold on 1 second.
Have you?
So this is what I'm saying to y'all, though, and I know we got to go to break, and we didn't necessarily go there, and maybe we should. There are so many layers in this conversation around the way that it's being discussed. When you no. And yes, Shannon, I know y'all are gonna say you know, and Stephen A., I know you just shared that you have talked about the WNBA on your program too. You guys may not have said everybody, but the prevailing sentiment for folks that are just joining the WNBA and following women's sports is unfair to the women of this league, to your point, who have laid the groundwork for Caitlin Clark to come in and now take it to the next level. That's all I'm saying in these conversations. Kennedy Carter's behavior is not indicative of the entire league. We are still talking about competition where you are allowed to get a little extra elbow in if you are competing and you do it within the parameters of the game. The game is physical. Caitlin is helping to grow the league. These women understand that, but she cannot be babied as a rookie. That's all I'm at.
All right.
Who talks about the
Let's go to break.
about the WNBA? Who talks about women? Who talk about women's sports more than First Take?
Stephen A., respectfully, with your platform, you could have been doing this 3 years ago if you wanted to.
Wow.
Monica's 100% right about that. But as you can see, the major sports networks are used to covering, especially men's sports, from such a toxic angle that they cannot shake that off when they're touching base with the females. And being that the sensitive era that we're in, it's a very thin line they got to tread. And for the people that are already in that WNBA community, whether covering the game or the people directly involved within that organization, they're going to have to deal with the annoyance of the influx of the casuals. They don't want to fall into the trap of gatekeeping their own league, especially due to the fact that it's growing. Keep in mind, the most historical WNBA franchise, the Houston Comets, no longer exists, and that's due to financial reasons. But after this segment went viral, Monica McNutt further elaborated on what went on behind the scenes and what led to some of the sentiments that she felt. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
If this becomes a moment where folks are a little bit more mindful, then fine, purpose served, right? Like, I got a ton of texts from folks that have covered the WNBA, men, women, like, of support. And it wasn't for me. This is why this whole thing has blown my mind, Bo, because it truly wasn't, in that moment, it was not about checking and winning a debate. It was a legitimate question, right? This space has grown. So many people have just joined the space that weren't here 3 years ago. Now, we could get into the minutia of nobody cared 3 years ago. The ratings weren't there 3 years ago. And I'm not going to say that the ratings are wrong. But like I said, I've been in it long enough to know that folks were asking for opportunities to help bring in a new audience, and they just weren't giving them, right? And so this is why, like, again, in this conversation, I would never part my lips to say that Caitlin Clark is not a huge phenomenon and great for the sport. But I'm also going to tell you that there's a rookie curve, that there are other great women in this league that deserve coverage, and that you should not be trying to dictate how to compete. The league's been standing for 28 years. Like, these women know how to compete at a high level. And you're just trying to be. We're on the show to debate. I'm debating. I asked a question. I still don't necessarily have the answer to said question. And genuinely, it wasn't a dig. It was a legitimate question. So we're all learning together. I hope more people are interested in having listening ears, not just conversations, but having their listening ears on in those conversations.
Stephen A. Smith playing the company man role because he understands that he cannot admit that they were approached in previous years to talk about the WNBA and the bosses were not having it because it doesn't correlate to the ratings. And networks like ESPN pander and do all these ads talking about we're pro this and pro that. But for the most part, on the business side and the back end, if that was really the case, a lot of these WNBA games will have primetime slots, not necessarily being bundled in with the NBA in their previous deals. But again, there's a very nuanced dance that has to happen in a very particular way when discussing women's sports right now, especially with the first take and undisputed debate culture. And the women may have to develop tougher skin as the men do, because that debate culture is very toxic. And a prime example of these networks trying to toe that line is the criticism that owners like James Dolan receive from the New York Knicks versus Jeannie Buss with the Los Angeles Lakers. They keep quiet on Jeannie, but the reality is that she is fucking up on the basketball side when it comes to the Lakers. But they're holding those criticisms in because she's a woman. A lot of those arrows get directed in Rob Pelinka's way. But Rob Pelinka in reality can't do what he do without Jeannie Buss signing off on it.
If you had put out a WNBA primer 3 years ago, your audience might have been like, what are we doing? And you are in a position to serve your audience, and that's fine. But you just articulated that to me, and we could discuss it, right? And you could say to me, Man, I think you're a little too close to this because I know that you've been pushing, but so much of media is what is the audience responding to? I've been in TV, I'm a TV professional, like I can hear that, right? And I think what I have had to grapple with as we've tried to grow this sport is how much of it is you have not fed it to the audience versus the audience doesn't want it. Because it's not like I'm saying that 2 hours of morning television should be about this topic. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that there was room and there was opportunity. Now, The other part of that is that question came from a place of, oh, y'all trying to talk to me like I'm stupid. Like, this is the leader on women's sports all of a sudden. Okay, well, let me just double check how long we've been doing this, right? And so as we move through these conversations, to your point, Bo, I've been watching the league this year. Beautiful. I started watching the league last year. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese brought me to the league. Beautiful. But let's just be honest. And I think Rebecca Lobo said it when we did a segment on Get Up this week. Like, have people on that know, because it's an opportunity to educate. And because, again, we talk about our societal totem pole. Women, mostly Black women, queer women, you've got a lot of pieces that are charged, and there should be a mindfulness that comes as you are new here. That's all. And now, I know somebody will be like, oh, it's just sports, but you can say whatever you want about the men. Men can do a lot of things that women don't get a chance to do. Like, what y'all want me to do? That's just where we are as society.
So a lot of her criticisms there are right, but that should be directed towards the network. They seem to have an already working formula, which you can see they took out baseball from it. It's mostly NFL and NBA on these sports debate shows. And unfortunate for many corporations, once they do have that formula down packed, they become tunnel vision. And by the time they look up, it's already too late. New entities will arise and kind of take their place and start new trends. But again, these type of conversation with mostly a male-dominated sports media is going to be very nuanced. And Monica sat down with Carmelo Anthony, which a lot of the NBA players have a better understanding of what some of the women are going through. But there is an overall message that they do try to convey, that this is mostly a business first before basketball. As the hot topic of Caitlin Clark not being selected on the Olympic team came about, Melo speaks to Monica about it, but he sort of also reminds her that this is a business and that they did let Christian Laettner on that Olympic team with Michael Jordan down in Barcelona. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
The thing about it, though, I think if you talk to those women, they're fine.
Facts.
Like, we are rookies in a league that we respect. It's all the outside noise that has been sort of nauseating to a degree. But they get it. Angel said in her Vogue drop that she was going pro. Like, I'm excited to play against the best. Kayla has said it. Like, the Olympic team is the best team in the world. Like, it's a goal of mine to make it. I'm fine not being on it. Like, it's all this other stuff. So Melo, give me your honest thing, right? Because this is the first time in this conversation that I have kind of sat in the middle. I'm like, the women's team has been so dominant. The 12th player was not going to make a difference.
Yeah, no.
But I totally respect merit and that being people's career aspiration and dream.
Yes.
And if I seen somebody get the nod just off of marketing and following, I would feel the type of way too.
Yeah.
So for you, right, knowing how competitive that is, in Caitlin's case, she hasn't been able to attend the camps and stuff. She was playing in college still, right? So she doesn't have that camaraderie. Do you think it was a miss by Team USA?
I think to the word that you use, marketing, like your word.
See, Melo is much smoother. He's kind of letting her know with a lot of grace, like, hey, this is a business. The marketing is important.
Your favorite word, right? We talk about, like, the women's U.S. national team has been dominant forever. Whether who come on that team or not, that team is going to always be dominant. So now what happens is you have the domination and you also have the eyeballs now, right? So now we talk about growing this game, this sport globally, right? Now they both meet at one of the higher stages in basketball, in sports, right? Whether you play or not, it should be an honor. You get what I'm saying? Y'all gonna win.
Yeah.
You're gonna get better, right? You going to that and just taking that role or taking that job or taking that 12 spot, you're gonna learn so much from that. Like, we had AD as a rookie. We had a Mecca Okafor in 04 as a rookie. You know what I mean? Like, we Carlos Bull, like we were the young guys. We didn't play in 04.
But again, that's the marketing for your future stars for the NBA. And especially for the athletic wear companies, Nike, Adidas, Reebok. The Olympics is mainly a marketing ploy for those companies along with the NBA. The way it went down with Michael Jordan in Barcelona, that proved to be very pivotal, as a lot of the international stars that came into the league always pointed to that Olympic event as their first time seeing Michael Jordan live. So the exposure and marketability is undeniable.
Like, we was last editions because nobody else wanted to come. KG, Barron, all those guys, they backed out.
Okay, so let's unpack this then.
Yeah.
Because did you I mean, obviously you were an elite competitor, you're talented enough to be on that team, but considering all of that stuff, if we tie that back to this conversation, if Caitlin were to get the nod and she didn't earn it basketball-wise, isn't that disrespectful to a degree?
I can see that, yeah.
Right?
It can come off as disrespectful, but it's like what we want, guys. Like what
They want the check. The girls want to fly private. Come on. At the end of the day, are you guys trying to make money not only for yourselves, but for the future young girls that will come into the league? They could be making 10, 12, $50 million instead of the whole team having a salary cap of $1.4 million. I mean, the private plane bill for all 12 teams is double the salary cap for the entire league. So there's still room to grow.
we want
It's like
the
a
sport.
double-edged sword.
Like, yeah. We
Yeah.
want this to be the biggest shit ever, and it's going to be because it's just the domination of the U.S. women's team. But now you get a whole nother conversation, right? And I think that what people are afraid of is if she don't play, right? If she don't play, because she's a competitor, so she's gonna enjoy the moment. It's if she don't play, the noise that everybody is gonna have to deal with on the team, USA, on the road, it's a lot of shit to deal with.
And that's also due to the nature of the toxic media coverage. Everything is politicized. The polarization of the American political landscape has trickled down into sports and all aspects of American society. And the nature of that is very, very toxic. And you factor in the heightened social media algorithms that love that. They're triggered by it. They'll promote it. That back and forth. It's only going to agitate the situation.
I ain't even play like somebody who
Now
played.
you gotta understand the team. You gotta see the dynamics of that team. That team is strong. I mean, to your point, she haven't practiced. Like she haven't been at camp. She haven't been at practice. So it's no disrespect to her of not making the team. It's the timing of the season, right? It's the timing of the sport, right?
For college season.
For college season, like it's a lot of things that have to start working together in order for everybody to be happy.
It's 9 players on that roster with Olympic experience. And half of those have probably won. Diana's won 5 times herself. So like that ain't no like, okay, I'm a rookie. That's beyond being a rookie. It's a freaking Olympic team, y'all.
Yeah, no, it's serious.
For market,
I just think that's not what sports is.
It's not. Should she be
It's
on
not.
there?
And once again, with Monica, the only thing is this is a business. On the men's side, they had to deal with it too. Christian Laettner was on the team over Isaiah Thomas. This is a business. They want to take advantage of the eyes of the entire world on them. So it's almost like a marketing layup. You might as well take it.
I'm only saying that because of the like where we at today in society, right? Should she be on there for branding purposes?
That's what it is.
Right?
Should she?
Everybody's thinking that part. Nobody's thinking you got to earn your way. You got to earn your keep. I got to get better. I got to develop. I got these ladies in front of me that I got to go. I have to go play. I have to prove myself to these. I still got to prove myself to these ladies every single night. So to be picked, and it's a lot different on the women's side than the men's side. The women's side being picked and selected for the national team is so tense and like so of a special moment because there's not that many of them, right? So and they carrying on a certain tradition that they have to keep running. They got to understand it, right? So whether you the best player at the 12th man or the best player at the number 1 position, you have to earn your keep. And for me, honestly, I just don't think that. I think the timing fucks everything up for Caitlin.
Melo put it into perfect perspective right there. Not only from the player side, but also the business side. But from the women's player side, Melo just dropped gems right there. This is a perfect understanding. It definitely means more to them, and there is less spots. So that 12th spot is important.
Haven't been to camp. You haven't been, all of that.
Right.
And I think those ladies in front of you right now, they've been there. They earned it. They deserve it. And they're going to go over there and win a gold medal. And you got to wait your turn.
And still, if the first couple of names that come to mind in terms of you could argue snubs, and we'll see what happens because we got to see what Chelsea Gray's health looks like. But Arike Ngumawala is a bucket. I'm taking her over Caitlin right now, hands down, right? A different position, but Nneka Ogwumike has been snubbed a couple different times in terms of the Olympic team. And so even the women that are on the fringe that went to camp, like, you talking about going and taking somebody's spot?
That's different.
She's just not there yet.
Yeah.
And for me, the basketball of it all is so very important that the women's national team, I'm not gonna say doesn't need branding, but they've been good. They're going to continue to be good.
Right.
And so the branding conversation, this is not a redeem team. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's more about the business now than the competition. Right. If it was just strictly about competition, then yeah, Caitlyn, you know, we respect that. But I feel bad for her in a sense because she don't think like that. Like she wants to hoop, she want to compete. When she understands I got to go through this process in order to get where I need to be. And it's gonna take time. It ain't gonna take 20 games. It ain't gonna take 20 games, bro.
I mean,
but I seen Tarashi coming in 04, right?
She's a different animal, though.
But what I'm saying is, so are you ready for that moment?
Yeah.
Right now is what I'm saying. The difference in those two coming into the WNBA.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The mindset that you had to have, like she was ready for the physicality. She was ready for everything. The game was a lot different back then in the WNBA, but they was coming for her too. And she held it, and she held her own. And she created that, and we fell in love with her as we started to watch her develop and get comfortable with the game. I fall in love with the process, and I want to see the process of Caitlyn. I want to see her development. I want to see how she grows. I want to see where she goes at with this.
I think
Next
she's gonna be
Olympics.
fine. Next Olympics.
But hey, it is all about the business nowadays, especially with streaming coming in. The WNBA having a lot of room to grow because streaming relies on a subscription basis month to month. So with them having 40 games now, they definitely want to expand it into the future with at least a 70 to 60 plus game season. And with the expansion teams coming in Toronto and also Golden State on the women's side, they got to squeeze every marketing opportunity that they can. Every drop of that juice, especially during the Olympics. That WNBA commissioner has a lot of tough choices ahead of her. She's going to have to make a lot of tough decisions and bite the bullet on it. Because it's not just about now, it's about the future girls coming in. You don't want the travel budget higher than all the teams' budgets combined. And you don't want the next superstar coming into the league that even after the boost that she provides, the league is still on pace to lose $50 million a year. So it's a lot of tough choices. David Stern for the NBA had to make tough choices in the early 2000s with the dress code and the league's image, but it pays off today. You see all the corporate sponsors, all these companies bidding on the NBA product because overall it's perceived as a safe, family-friendly environment. And that's what all these mega companies want. The business is the business, and hopefully for the ladies, they don't take it too personal.